His name is Meng. And the tales of him have become those of Chuck Norris jokes. No one knows for sure which stories are true and which ones have been embellished. One thing we know for sure is that no one gets that much respect without having pulled off some truly unbelievable acts. Here are the stories from other wrestlers about the scariest man in the history of wrestling. This is the legend of Meng, aka Tonga, Haku.
The list goes on. My uncle King Tonga. I mean, there was.
Oh, King Tonga was your uncle.
Remember him?
Yeah, I do remember him. Yeah,
and arguably one of the toughest men.
You mean in real life?
In real life in pro wrestling. And the
Could
way
he beat up his wife if they got in a fight? Or?
No, she would kick his ass.
Did you call him Uncle King Tonga?
I had respectfully, right? So there's this crazy story. So he was out and he was eating after a big match. At one time he was wrestling Hulk Hogan. I think this was in Buffalo. And after a match, someone from Buffalo. And then, so after a match, some of these fans started getting a little unruly when he was eating dinner. And he was not only the toughest, one of the toughest men in the world, but also one of the most kind, gentle guys. And this is a heartwarming story. So he's eating, and a fan was drunk and unruly, and you're not that tough. And my uncle's like, oh, no, it's okay. Just leave me alone, please. You're not that tough. Finally, the guy pushed my uncle. My uncle gets up. He grabs him by the head, and he bites his nose off. Okay?
Is this the kind and gentle part?
No, that's not the kind of gentle. That's the I'm an animal. I told you not to mess with me. He bites his nose off, boom, spits it on the ground. The guy goes crazy. His wife starts freaking out. They call the cops. The cops come back to find my Uncle Tonga still sitting, eating. And they were like, and he's very menacing. Look, he's massive, and he's just sitting there eating. And, sir, are you Tonga Fafita? And, yes, I am. Did you get in an altercation? Yes, I did, yes. And I believe his nose, I think he's at the hospital. Oh, yes, his nose, it's right over there.
He's one of the well-respected, well-feared man in this business.
Absolutely.
You know, but with the stories that I hear, he's a dangerous man. That you do not want to get him pissed off by any means.
Meng on an infamous airport incident. It was in Baltimore Airport. There was a hotel there. We were staying at another hotel, the Marriott or something. There was another hotel there, though. It was hopping at the time. The music was playing and it was packed. It was during the week, I believe. Me and Shiva AFI went over and there were lots of baby faces there at the bar. So we went and sat in the other corner away from them. When they were ready to close, we had a few drinks, and on our way out there were 5 guys just sitting there. Of course, the same thing came out. The fake stuff. Hey, are you guys with those guys, wrestlers? The fake wrestlers on TV? You know. I said, yeah. I'll show you. And I reached over without thinking, grabbed his face, and bit his nose off. Then the fight started. Me and Shiva kind of cleaned house there and left. I'll never forget it.
And Haku and I were in the bar, and some marks started messing with us. And he grabbed the guy by his head, bit his nose off, and spit it in his face.
He got in a few scuffles in different places, one particularly down at the Holiday Inn in Baltimore, Maryland, where the bar was kind of destroyed and the police came, and then they whacked him up pretty good and pepper sprayed him. So, yeah, for some reason, Ming and bars and liquor just didn't go together.
And next thing you know, the cops were everywhere, and I got him out the side door. We snuck out, because we were staying at the Marriott up the hill, right, just probably a quarter mile up the road, and took off, and we went up the hill, and there was 20 cops in the bar because the place turned into a freaking melee in there. It was crazy. It was a big bar fight. And then the cops came, and then finally I negotiated a surrender for him because they wanted to kill him.
You heard the stories about him with what was that, St. Louis, with the cops out there. 7 cops, he put them all down, man. Put them all down, you know?
Stories about how Ming's a badass and maybe bit off a dude's nose and all kinds of craziness.
That would be very true. I was there and witnessed that.
You saw him bite a guy's nose off?
A bartender, yep.
Yeah, Kevin Sullivan told me stories about seeing him in a fight one time, and he was biting him and just chunks of meat were coming out. That's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, he saved Kurt Hennig's life in East St. Louis, too. You must have heard that story. They were killing Kurt Hennig, and it took, they tased him it took 20 cops again. They tased him, and he was eating the mace, just snapping a seat, and just snapping at it, right?
Right.
In East St. Louis. He doesn't go there anymore either.
I mean, but Haku was probably well known as one of the tougher guys in our business, and he was a jerk magnet. He'd walk into a bar and every guy would come up and mess with Haku, but it ended up he bit a tip of a guy's nose off in a fight that the guy started, but the guy sued him and really hurt Ming bad.
Was it Haku or Barbarian that bit the guy's nose off?
I think it was Haku.
And they went to this one bar, redneck bar or something, and somebody made a racial comment about him. And he, of course, took offense to it. And they challenged him, and he wiped them up, bit the guy's nose off.
The bite. Kevin Sullivan was a wrestler, booker in WCW and traveled with Meng quite often when they were on the road. He told a story to WWE Classics about the time the duo went to a tavern to grab a few beers before heading to their hotel. According to Sullivan, it was obvious that he and Meng weren't locals, so when they walked into the bar, a guy playing pool called Meng a horrible, derogatory word. The next thing I know is that Meng goozles the guy like a Mr. Spock, Sullivan said. It was fast and furious. He then grabbed another guy who tried to get involved and knocked him unconscious. After that, things got even crazier. Meng bit through the guy's shirt like a wolf, bit a chunk out of the guy's back, then spit it on the floor, he said. Jake Roberts. Jake the Snake may have said it best during one of his shoot interviews, "If I had a gun and was sitting inside a tank with one shell left and Meng is 300 yards away, he's mine, right? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is jump out of the tank and shoot myself because I don't want to wound that son of a bitch and have him pissed off at me."